Hello, everyone, and welcome to Session 5 of the Foundation. When we last left off our party, they had just finished sparing the lives of the Bronze Fang crew, and they had decided to integrate their party integrate these bandits. There were 15 of them. They are now part of the township of Kingsgift. The group, minus Iskandar, decided to go press on ahead to Forgemont after speaking with a young woman by the name of Osthryd, who had just narrowly escaped being killed by a group of guards or a group of soldiers from East Shore. And that was in a one-shot that we had. It's also in the playlist of the Foundation. So if you haven't watched it, you should check it out. It's pretty cool. There's griffins and chase scenes and fighting and awesome.
Noble sacrifice.
Yes, indeed. Exactly. And what happened was that she had mentioned and spoken with the members of this group, and they have decided to bring her to Forgemont to speak to Baron Albaras. Now, in the meantime, our resident super wizard, Iskandar, has decided to remain in Kingsgift to oversee the integration, get these new people settled, to have them build their homes, and get that sorted out so they can go ahead and become productive members, as opposed to swinging corpses or tree decorations. The bandits themselves were mostly conscripted common folk, farmers, fishermen, just regular people who were pressed into fighting into this war against the elves. But after so much death and destruction, it has taken a toll on them, and that's what led to these deserters becoming a very dangerous group in the barony of Vita. And of course, on the road, the party had met with a young holy knight, Ser Malbec, who helped them fight a hill giant that they met in the evening on the road. And, well, they took care of that guy pretty quick. And they also noticed that the giant's clothing and armor, for what passes for giant armor, was adorned with a bunch of painted eyes. And Sir Wayland had mentioned that they had belonged to an orc tribe that he was familiar with, but surprised to see them this far south and east. So it's from here where we pick up our Session 5 of the Foundation. Leopold, the moment between dream and alertness is a very myopic area. And while you feel like you are still asleep, there's an itch just in the very back of your head that something is watching you. Something is creeping closer and closer. In your ears, even though, in your subconscious, you can barely pick up a small scratching, a clattering of claws as it slowly moves its way toward you, almost bounding, but very quietly. Where are you at this moment as you are just beginning to wake up?
So Leopold is, I want to apologize for the background noise, by the way. Leopold is reliving a scene from his past when he served in the military before even the last final battle. He was a mercenary, and he thinks of one of the last times he had served. there was this beast that was feeding upon the dead. A great tiger, great cat. I don't know if you'd call it a tiger. So as he lays here, bandaged and bruised from the fight the night before, he's thinking back on that, and his breath kind of catches in his lungs. He can feel sweat start to run along his back, and his eyes slowly crack open,
just by doing this.
and he reaches, feeling for his sword.
And as your eyes begin to slowly flutter open, most of the forest around you is just a green mix of blurs and vague shapes. But you can see now that the place where you've set your bedroll near a stump, looking up, your eyes focus on this black shape, this shape that almost seems to encompass your entire vision, until your eyes begin to focus and the sleep dissipates like so much morning mist. And it is a raven. It sits there looking at you. You see now that it has what looks to be some sort of a mouse or other small creature that it had captured. And it looks at you and kind of like, kind of jerks its head and twists, and it stares at you for a moment, and kind of quarks a bit, and takes off, and it leaves the mouse, the mostly picked off mouse corpse around by the like on the log as it takes off.
Leopold, as a devotee of the Raven Queen, sees that as a good omen. He pushes up slowly, his body still sore, and he walks over to the stump. He looks down at the dead mouse, and he picks it up, kind of looks at it in his hand, whispers a silent prayer, and then he kind of just tosses it off into the bushes. Would say nothing to any of the others, thinking they would probably just think he's a religious fool.
And as Leopold, as your eyes kind of scan around to the campsite, you notice that there are 5 horses, but the 6th horse and 6th individual that you were with is, excuse me, the 5th is not there, Ser Malbec. He has taken off. And as your eyes scan around, Benjamin, your eyes begin to flutter open as the kind of smell of morning, that heavy dew, kind of almost like an inhalation of life, as flowers begin to open up, and the sun begins to kind of caress through the forest. Looking up, you see another large, dark shape. As the sun begins to kind of peek through the dense foliage, you begin to see now that it is a large corpse, the corpse of the giant that is just still sitting there, still laying there, still rotting, slowly begin to rotting away. You feel
as his eyes sort of first open, and he sees this large shape, his first instinct is to raise his hand in front of him, and this slight bit of light starts to glow in his palm, but he quickly as he fully opens his eyes and sort of juts himself to awake, the light dies, and he lowers his hand, realizing that it's just the giant's corpse, and a firebolt would be rather ineffective. And he'll start to rise and straighten his vest and lift his jacket up and start to put it on, and notice that there's a bit of damp from the dew all over the jacket. And he'll just swipe his hand down it and dry it off with his slight bit of magic that he's picked up, and meticulously roll his bedroll and start to look around to see who else is awakened.
And as you look around, you notice that everyone is beginning to stir. Thancmar is up. He's already putting his bedroll away, kind of like snapping, just snapping it as you would a towel to kind of flick away any foliage or dried leaves or even like little bits of dirt, rolling it up, tying it to his kind of like a small pack, and then already affixing it to his horse. Osthryd is just kind of like, she's just getting up and stretching. She walks over and kind of begins to pull a few rations out to make a quick breakfast. Just like a couple of like a rasher of bacon, just enough for everyone. And even making what looks to be like a kind of like a small pot. This is kind of like a mess tin, setting it over this like small fire and cooking what looks to be like a type of bread. Like she carries this dough in this like kind of like a little bit of dough that she kind of throws in there, and using like the camping smoke and fire, you can already see like the this kind of like little like almost like a pot of bread. It's beginning to like rise up slowly, and she's of course checking, like while it's cooking, she's checking her armor, checking her weapon. Before going to sleep, all of you, kind of do like basic maintenance, cleaning off your weapons, making sure everything was good to go before bedding down for the night. She gets up, kind of checks, draws her sword, kind of dries off any condensation that had gone into the scabbard, making sure, everything's kind of good to go, just in case. She looks at you and says, good morning, Benjamin. Did you sleep well?
I did, thank you. I see you've begun some breakfast. Much obliged. We'll walk up and sit next to the small fire she has going. So let me know if there's anything I can do to assist.
Well, unless you can get rid of this giant corpse, perhaps you could go fetch us some berries. It'd probably go very well with the bacon and the bread.
Absolutely, miss. I'd be happy to.
And she kind of points to a couple of bushes kind of along the side of this road, and you can see that there's just like wild blackberries there to just pick. A lot of times, especially in the kingdom, that's what one thing that they have done was they, like, every so often they would plant these blackberry bushes. Like, this is years and years ago, and this was for just in case, for travelers who, if they were hungry and there was nothing to hunt or nothing to eat, they'd always have the chance to like pick some blackberries and at least eat some, so they can kind of get some food in their bellies. So you go over and you pick probably.
And Benjamin will he'll walk over to it, but he'll kind of get a little bit behind one of them. And he's still kind of figuring out how to work this magic that he's learning. It's kind of a recent thing for him. And because he's always been more of the roguish bent, but he's started kind of branching out. And he'll start to use his mage hand to just pull the berries off, just sort of trying to practice for his dexterity with the hand, so he knows what he's doing when he's ready to do something more with higher stakes.
I like the sound of that. That's pretty cool. So why don't you go ahead and describe what that looks like?
So he's got this invisible hand, and his hand is at his side, and he's just sort of manipulating the hand out about 10 or 15 feet ahead of him when he sees one of the berries. And so the first one he goes for just sort of squishes invisibly out of nowhere, just this little pop and burst of juice. And as he pulls the hand away, he sees that there's like a little bit of sticky, like bluish purplish resin still on the invisible thing. And you can kind of almost see the fingers for a moment. And then he goes for the next one and goes a little bit lighter and pulls it off and brings it over to himself and drops it into his own hand. And he looks down with just a smile, like, well, that is rather useful. And he continues to keep practicing with it until he's got like a good couple handfuls of berries.
And Osthryd, cooking away and stuff, kind of looks over and says, "Lord." And from that, we're going to jump right over back to Kingsgift. Lord Iskandar.
Yes.
Aye.
No need to shout.
Aye, sorry.
Understood.
We have someone coming into town. I've never seen him before. He's wearing full plate, but on a good note, I don't think he's an enemy of us.
That is good news. Iskandar will rise fluidly from his sort of cross-legged position and stand, and he'll look at the guard.
And he begins to walk over. You can kind of see now, just coming into view, a kind of a young man, probably in his early to mid 20s. He's wearing kind of full plate, but it doesn't seem like battle plate. It seems more like kind of parade plate, where it's been a little bit shinier. He has a shield strapped to the horse's right flank that you can see that's coming into view. You can also see the townsfolk are starting to react very happily, very excitedly. The embossment on the shield is a large head of a dragon that is facing left, and you don't really need a religion check to figure out that this is a warrior, holy warrior of the Order of Bahamut, the Platinum Dragon. As he begins to ride.
I think Iskandar would see that, and he would take a breath of relief, because he knows that if you're with Bahamut, then you're probably not going to cause any trouble. So he would very quietly just let out a.
And as he begins walking, you see lots of townsfolk are starting to come up and touch, just try and touch the knight and blessings and greetings, and you see this young man. He's kind of holding his hand out, smiling and kind of blessing, kind of verbal blessings to a lot of the people around, and he kind of eyes you. And he kind of takes his horse very gently to kind of not run over any of your people. Rides up to the post nearest to the inn, gets off, ties up, and says, "Vermat, are you Lord Iskandar by any chance?"
Iskandar will incline his head. I am.
Well met. My name is Ser Malbec. I have been traveling from Forgemont. I am on my way to Sunlit Shores. But I was asked by some of your friends to come in and say hello, and I was told that I was going to be offered succor and a bit of rest.
Of course, Ser Malbec, you're most welcome. We can arrange rooms in the inn. Let's go and have a drink and wash that dust off the road off you.
I would appreciate that. Unfortunately, my throat is what is needing most of washing. So you hear his heavy, his heavy mail, kind of mail underfoot boots kind of clanking onto the on kind of like the wooden porch area of this inn. Just as he walks in with you and sits down, I would like to explain some news from you for you. Now, I do not want you to be upset or to panic. Your friends are okay, but we did fight a hill giant upon the road last night.
A giant?
Yes. Here's what is strange, and I'm going to try and remember his name because I forget his name. Malser comes around in his armor with a pitcher of black, kind of like black ale, very dark, kind of a breakfasty beer, something very heavy and yeasty to kind of like fill the belly. Notice how I didn't say Guinness. Okay, so anyway, he comes along. He has kind of like a kind of steel carafe of this kind of blackened heavy beer. Sets it down with kind of like an assorted like kind of just like pieces of bread and a few like basically like a really quick breakfast to kind of throw together. But anyway, so he plops down a couple of metal tankards for both of you, and kind of walks away. Here's what's strange. I am from the Duchy of Suka. If you could not tell by my ridiculous accent, we in the Duchy normally have problems with these orcs who have come down from the northwestern ridgebacks. But I have never seen one so far out east and south as here. I do not understand how these creatures are getting into this area and the forest. Normally, I figured the elves would take care of them. I understand that your numbers have been reduced because of the war, and I'm very sorry if you have lost any people that you care about.
Quite certain it's not your fault, Ser Malbec.
True. But this giant, I did not have a chance to explain it to your friends, but this giant has all the markings of the devout followers of Gromsh, the orc god of destruction and chaos.
Iskandar does like a sort of little gesture. He'll like tap two of his fingers to his right eye. I think it's the right eye. Just briefly, as a sort of like warding away Grumsh.
Then you are familiar. Grumsh, well, normally giants and orcs don't very much get along. The giants usually stick to their own, and if they cannot attack or eat any of us, then sometimes they would go after orcs, as orcs, for some reason, thinks they are tougher than they are. But to see a giant... Yes.
It strikes me that if the giant is working with the orcs, hill giants, to my understanding, are not the cleverest nor the most nefarious of creatures. They are simple killers, murderers. So if he's working, it is working with the orcs, there must be something in charge. Some warlord has risen, something of that description, that is able to control or at least point these hill giants in a certain direction.
Yes, I would definitely agree with that. Needless to say, it is definitely something to be concerned about. Now, I am glad that I was able to talk to you about this. I mean, this could be a serious problem, especially for down here. You are a small town. No offense, obviously. But as a small town, perhaps it would be good if you would like, I could speak to... I am on my way to Sunlit Shoals. Perhaps I could speak to the Viscount. Maybe she could send some troops to help you, or perhaps send you weapons or anything you need. But I can offer you that. Unfortunately, my order is not able to send a force down to protect. I hope you will be okay.
I quite understand. Any word that you could put in with the Viscount would be much appreciated. As you can see, we are somewhat light on troops, and they are untested.
Of course.
Some here that are at least somewhat battle-hardened, it would greatly boon this settlement.
He takes like a big, just a big draught off of the tankard. There's one more thing that I would like to speak to you about, if you would not mind. One of your compatriots, he has some items on him. These items are dangerous. They have the marks on them of a very evil god, a very dangerous one. And unfortunately, with this dangerous god, the allure of power that this thing can offer anyone, is a dangerous temptation. Perhaps you will speak to him, if possible.
I am no stranger to the arcane arts. I can try and parse and understand what these items are, but certainly I will speak to them.
Yes, it would be good. I would fear if we would have another warlord rising up here in the south. Bane, the god of warlords and conquerors, is not to be trifled with.
No, indeed. Nothing we will not stand for here.
Excellent, and that is wonderful. I am surprised that you would be here working with humans. I thought you would be, perhaps, when I've heard your name, Iskandar, a Tauran. That is I thought you would be with your clan.
It's quite a long story, Ser Malbec. It's complicated.
I understand. But I think we have nothing but time. And we're just going to jump back really quick. Osthryd looks at you, Sir Leopold. Time is something we don't really have much of. I think we should get going to Forgemont before we are too late. I just hope that everything is going to be safe for the ride or on the way to.
Leopold would not mince too many words with her. He's thinking that exact same thing, though he doesn't say it. He just nods curtly to her, continues getting his gear together. He does look to Benjamin, though, and say, "Benjamin, make it quick there. We must get back on the road."
Right. Yes. He'll pass out the berries and say, "Well, we can eat these on the way. It seems that we've got enough of everything else. Let's be ready to move."
And Osthryd kind of cools off. Like, she walks over to the river with the pot with the kind of cooked bread, and she just dips the bottom of the pot into the cold water to like kind of quickly chill it. And pulling it out, she kind of like carves around and just kind of scoops this like kind of bread out in one shot, breaks it into kind of like 5 pieces, so everyone kind of has a hunk. Everyone has like a few pieces of bacon that she kind of passes out, and of course, like a handful of berries. She secures everything, secures the cooking pots and everything else to the side of her horse. Checks her sword kind of one more time, more of a kind of a security, like a personal security measure. Sheathes it. Kind of gets on her horse and says, "Well, what's everybody waiting for? Come on!" And she kind of begins to kind of go off at not a gallop, but she like kind of goes off at a bit of a clip pace, kind of a canter or something. The rest of you, like Thancmar, kind of, he's already kind of loaded for bear, so he begins to go, nods to the two of you, and begins to go after her.
Yeah, Leopold would maybe smile a bit at the brashness of the young woman, and would mount up himself. And he would smile at Benjamin and say, "Seems we are leaving now." And he would try to catch up with Thancmar and Osthryd.
As soon as Leopold's horse starts moving, Benjamin is swinging himself onto his own and spurring it along.
And you guys begin to travel. I need one of you two to roll me a d6.
Two.
All right, perfect. So as you begin to travel, it's mostly uneventful. You see the as you're traveling north, you see the river eventually begin to widen out into what you see as the large, expansive Lake Vita. You see a few, just like a few small boats on the water. Some people throwing like small nets for fishing. Other people with using poles and bait. You see a couple of merchants kind of like ahead of you by a little bit. They're a little bit slower, obviously, because they usually have wagons laden down with goods. They're, some of them are moving north, some of them are moving south. But you do, as you're traveling, you do see one individual, and it's an individual that you haven't really, like, seeing one of these type of people is extremely rare. And the fact that you're even seeing a dwarf might possibly even be for the first time. And you see this individual. He's got a couple of ponies affixed to a wagon, and it looks like he was traveling south. But you see that his cart is on the side of the road, and one of the wheels appears to be broken, not like completely busted, but it appears to be like snapped in some fashion. And you see him just muttering and swearing to himself. He's got a kind of like a long, very like intricately braided beard, kind of a like blondish color, and he's got he's kind of wearing. You tell he's not really wearing armor, but he's definitely wearing like very thick clothing. It seems to be like very high quality material. He's shaking his head and he's trying to looks like he's just trying to figure stuff out.
I think Leopold, seeing that, he probably should exchange a look with Thancmar, and maybe it's Leopold's turn. So he spurs his horse on and he rides up ahead of the others. And as he gets in close, he would just hail this dwarf and say, "Friend, it appears as though we're having trouble along the road. Might we be of any assistance?"
You think I'm having trouble upon the road? Well, aren't you the astute one? Aye. God's damned wagon broke. I don't really know what exactly to do, but you lend an assistance?
He would notice that Leopold hasn't moved from his saddle. He's kind of stopped maybe about 10, 15 feet away, looking down at him, and he would just nod his head. He would appraise the damage to the wagon. Is it just the wheel?
Tell you what, make me an investigation check.
I will certainly do that. Investigation. That is an 11.
Okay. Looking at the like a kind of at the wagon assembly, and I mean, you're not a Wainwright, but from what you can tell, it seems to be that the axle affixing the wheel, there's been a lot of pressure on it, and it's like begin to like bend and even snap a little. And it's a wooden axle, but it's all like very well milled. So I mean, it's a nice like a nice well-made wagon, but unfortunately something had happened, maybe hit a rut or something, and broke it. So that right now, like trying to move it, the more it moves, the more it'll start to like break until the whole axle will like completely break through, and the wagon will basically just like slam to the ground, and that's completely busted up. So
okay, I'm seeing that. I just realized I have land vehicles as a skill, so that would all make sense to Leopold. Seeing that, he would dismount. He'd probably yell to Thancmar, probably wanting his strength. And as he starts to walk towards, I mean, he probably would just pat the nose of his horse and maybe whisper an encouraging word to it, just so to keep it in place. Maybe just quickly hobble it. And as he turns and faces the dwarf, he goes, "I am Leopold. We'll see what we can do to help you." And he would walk over, and he would like probably be pulling his leather gloves up tighter, and assess the situation, I guess. So if I'm seeing it right, so we would probably need to repair this axle on the wagon.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So you probably would want to, like, I mean, if you could find some way to fix the axle, or either use like arcane duct tape, or something to that effect. Possibly even anything that anything could work. Because I mean, you guys are probably about, I would have to say, about 45 minutes away from Forgemont. Like even now, you can begin to see the walls kind of in the distance. It's like Forgemont is a large fortified town, actually, even brokering into a small city. If you could jury rig something, it just might work.
Benjamin will hop off of his horse and start looking around for a fairly large rock, like something that you need to carry with two hands, like the size of a head, something like that.
Okay, I mean it takes you a bit, but like getting near to the lake, you find a couple of stones about that big. One the size of a human head would probably weigh, around 40 pounds. Well, no, that's not right. Probably weigh around 20 or 30 pounds. I mean, you could lift something like that.
Yeah, so he's quite weak, so he's having a hard time, but he comes struggling with this thing over and drops it and starts trying to roll it underneath the axle. And like, now here, come on, I need somebody to hold the thing up so that so I can get this under there.
And Thancmar quietly walks over and begins to like kind of lift it a little bit to kind of get for you to get the stone underneath.
Yeah, so he's really like, Benjamin really has to like scramble and like push and kick at this thing to get it to go. And then once he finally gets it under there, he moves his hands under and starts to kind of cup it against the rock. And he just starts to move them back and forth and starts to try to use mold earth to stretch this rock out and wrap it around the axle and see if it'll hold it together long enough to get him to town.
So you want to So you're gonna take it. Basically, you're gonna take a stone and like basically like secure it, like kind of melt the stone around it, kind of as earth glue.
Yeah, magical duct tape, but rock duct tape.
That is so fucking rad. Yeah, you know what? Let's do this. Oh, and level, I think it's you guys are level 4 now? 3? 4.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Should I level Mike or will I say 3?
You know what? Just for now. I mean, if you want to level like literally right now, you can. But while we're working on this,
all good. No worries.
So I mean, you begin to see like it's almost like if you've ever seen how taffy is made, like how it just kind of gets that kind of gooey, like kind of stringy, stretchy kind of thing. You know, as you cast this spell, you begin to see it kind of like wave up and then just curl around it, even though it still looks like stone. You know, it just begins to like kind of goop around it. And Thancmar, kind of seeing what you're doing, kind of shoulders it and begins turning the wheel. And as it does, you just see the stone kind of goop around it, and then kind of like hold on to the axle. The stone, now being smaller, kind of like sits underneath now the axle, and the dwarf kind of walks up and looks. Well, it's not bad.
Now that'll only last you an hour, so you should probably get yourself to town.
Oh right. No, that's brilliant. I like it. Well done. Cheers on that.
Benjamin just nods his head, gives a little.
I'm Merchant Drake. I come from up north and a bit, from King's Summit. Tell you what, where are you all from?
Leopold, he would have been helping Thancmar kind of hold the wagon while Benjamin did this. He kind of relaxes, kind of strip flexes his muscles a bit, and he says, "From King's Landing to the south."
You're from Westeros.
Oh, Kingsgift. Oh shit! I didn't even realize I said that.
That's all right. That's all right. I had to.
Oh man, that's awesome. Oh, what is Lionel thinking about?
Kingsgift. Never heard of that. Where is it?
It's a new settlement, gifted by the king himself. And he would describe where it is. I got my map here, right here. But it's just at the base of the river. What's the river's called? Is it?
So you have. So basically, it's the river.
Kill that person! Kill that person! They're following the cops.
I can't remember that. Hang on. I think it's the yeah. So you have the river Faustus, which goes into Lake Vita, and then the river that goes like pretty much spills out to the ocean is the river Vita. So
that's what he would describe. It's a small sediment
and just loot them
at the base of the river where it meets the sea.
All right. Who's the lords there?
Geez, I don't know that we have a lord there, do we?
We are, but at the moment we left the town in the care of one of the other lords, Iskandar.
All right. Well, you've done something good for me, and I greatly appreciate that. Most of the merchants just left, rode right by me, and never paid me no mind. See, a lot of merchants are jealous. Dwarven crafted items are some of the best, you know. Tell you what I'll do, though. I'm going to head back to Forgemont. I'll only slow you down, so you go right ahead. But after I get my wagon repaired, why don't I come down? Go to Kingsgift. Have a look. Perhaps maybe there's some sort of a business arrangement we can make. I'll go have a chat with this Iskandar fellow.
I think that would be a fantastic idea, sir.
Well, you've paid me a kindness now. Let me try and do something nice for you for a change, eh? And sorry for being so abrupt before. I guess being on the road kind of can really get someone's hackles up. You can.
I'm sure Leopold didn't take it too personally. Yeah, isn't that right, Leopold?
Leopold would already be kind of brushing it off. And he would maybe be making his way back to his own mount.
Yeah, and the dwarf kind of gets onto his wagon, and he looks back and says, "Oh, name's Grek, by the way." And that, if anyone is writing that down for notes, it's Graic. If well, I'll have a chat with this Iskandar fella, and after I get my wagon repaired, and then we'll do business. I like you lot. And he kind of snaps the reins and kind of begins to make like kind of a lazy arc, as you know, a wagon, even on the road, you know, still has to make a lazy turn to get back to Forgemont to get his stuff repaired. And you would know that he would, like, even traveling at the pace a normal wagon travels, he'll make it in time. So, as you guys continue on to Forgemont, the Ser Malbec doesn't actually stay in the, like, doesn't he get a room. After coming there in the morning, he and after being, you know, like having your hospitality, which he is of course eternally grateful for, he mounts his horse and before leaving, with your permission, quite a few people, quite a few of the townsfolk ask him to give a sermon, just like a small little like prayer for like just justice and truth and honor and knights in shining armor and shit, you know,
stuff,
all that silly human stuff. But with your permission, of course. So he asks you first, do you allow him?
Yeah.
Okay. And the townsfolk are very happy. So, I mean, they, you know, he kind of leads a group of people together, you know, and they just, you know, they pray and they, you know, and they talk in a little bit, and, you know, you can tell it really lifts people's spirits up. And they're very, like, they're very, very happy. And a lot of them walking back to their homes, look at you as they're walking by and thanking you, for, you know, for giving them the opportunity to speak and, you know, give the blessings of Bahamut the Platinum Dragon. He jumps onto his horse and says, "When I get to Sunlit Shoals, I will make sure that they know of the valor and the bravery and, of course, the hospitality of the Lords of Kingsgift. I thank you so much for this. I hope that our paths can cross again, and if they do, then I can be the one to help you and show you hospitality."
Hopefully that will be the case, Sir Malbec. Could I ask one thing? The people here their spirits seem buoyed by your presence. Well, your goodly demeanor. Are there, I don't know, priests, workers, monks of your order? Missionaries?
Yes, we do employ individuals to come and speak to people, but generally, a shrine or a temple is usually, you know, we do ask for that, We generally don't build temples or shrines, but if you are willing to have one built, we are more than willing to get a priest here full time, if you so desire. I will
Seems that
say,
might please the people. We do have a small concern in that one of the lords of this town is a servant of the Raven Queen. I don't believe that's a problem, as there are many gods, and I believe that they all work together.
for the most part, I mean, you wouldn't exactly see Bahamut and Asmodeus getting together over tea, but yes, I would agree that having different gods, death, for example, is a complete and utter part of life. It is as natural as truth and honor and justice. Having someone follow the Raven Queen, and I'm sure many people here would pray to the Raven Queen for peace in the afterlife or a smooth transition to the ethereal plane.
Of course, but you understand, Ser Malbec, that while the Raven Queen's domain is a part of everyone's life, it's not a part that people like to celebrate. While Bahamut represents aspects of life that are perhaps more palatable for most people. And also there's a kindliness and a sort of light to the servants of Bahamut that maybe is not so present in those of the Raven Queen.
See, now, and he really, like, literally does stop, and he kind of stills his horse. But you see, that is something that is dependent upon each person. For example, in Forgemont, there is a priest to the Raven Queen. Very jovial, very friendly. But in his eyes, the Raven Queen speaks to him through mercy and through peace. There is no darkness, there is no anger or brooding, I think is a good word. Death is natural, a transition. It is moving from life to the afterlife. In his eyes, he does not see death as a finality or as a pain or as a terrible trial to overcome. He sees the transition from life to afterlife as a rebirth. You are being born again, but to serve into the afterlife for eternity, to be happy, to be at peace. You just simply have to transition to something else.
I agree. That's my view too, though I really won't go to the same afterlife. But for many of these farmers and tradesmen, they don't have such a long view of things. They focus on the now, which has its own merits, but nonetheless, I believe that a priest or a monk or something of the Platinum Dragon would boost spirits around here. Now, I don't think that we have the kind of wealth to build a platinum shrine. I don't know what is appropriate for your...
A shrine can be something as small as 2 pieces of stone, 2 pieces of large flat stones together with a small idol. Actually, wait a minute. And he reaches into his pack and kind of looks around. Ah, yes, here we go. And he pulls out a kind of like a little bust. And it's just a bust of the Platinum Dragon, like just like kind of like the head. Yeah. Put this into the shrine. Just please make sure, if north is that way, and he kind of points towards where the general direction where Forgemont is. If north is that way, just make sure that the dragon's head is facing west. And then just set up your shrine and we can work something out. Also, if you would like, you could always make a small shrine out of wood. It does not have to be... Remember, the House of the Platinum Dragon does not have to be rich marble all the way from the Shattered Isles or beautiful gilded platinum halls. These are things that maybe are in Middenheim or in Forgemont or even in Eastport. These sorts of things, the houses of our gods are not what is important. To build something for the gods is not important. To follow and to adhere to God's rules. And that is what is important. It is more a question of what is in your heart. Because in my heart, for Bahamut, the Platinum Dragon, my halls are platinum, my walls are platinum. The very holy water that I sprinkle myself with in my heart is platinum. Everything is for truth, honor, and justice. But here in the material realm, I could not afford that. I could barely afford a pint right now. But what is important is how you feel. What is in here. So if you make your shrine out of 7 logs and this one shrine, this one bust of the Platinum Dragon, then you have yourself a shrine. If you make yourself a small wooden outbuilding with 20 seats and a small pew, you have a temple. None of the things matter. That is what it is. It's just how you feel about said building. Does that make sense?
Well said. Indeed, it does. Thank you. Could I ask you to bless this idol before you pass it on to me? I think it will make the people happy.
Consider it done. And he kind of places his lobster gauntlet upon the top of it, and you hear him kind of murmuring a prayer. A couple of townsfolk walking by are just looking, and just for a moment, you could swear just for a moment that this idol, which is actually made out of steel, not actual platinum, just begins to kind of glow a bit. And he hands it back. He hands it to you. There. It is blessed with the heart and soul of the Platinum Dragon. May it serve you well.
Thank you. You have a pleasant journey. I hope we'll see you again.
And you as well. Enjoy. And I hope that I can travel back here again to see the newest temple to the Platinum Dragon. Good day and blessings. And he kind of is hoarse and just kind of clips off, going towards the western bridge, the Hana Bridge, over to Sunlit Shoals.
I would just try and gather the people, nothing formal, but just to gather them and say, this is a town we're making here, and a town needs, it needs many things, but what we need really is a temple. Now, there are many gods, many of which will be worshipped here in different ways, but I think we can begin, certainly, with this, and he'll hold up the idol. Selflessly given to us by this knight of Bahamut, I think it is a good foundation stone upon which to build our temple to the many gods. And he'll just let that hang among the people, and kind of also imply that they can build other sort of idols and other shrines to other gods within this sort of building that they make.
And a lot of them, you see a lot of them nodding their heads, and a lot of them are smiling, and a couple even cheer, and they're very excited about the prospect of this. I'm just having a look here, because there is it this one? Nope. Basically, to build even a temple or that, it'd probably take cost, probably cost you about 50 gold, and then some materials. So far, you guys still have 8 wood and 8 stone, 8 units. I would say if you wanted to make a really small little, little shrine, maybe it could be 1 unit of wood, or even if you wanted to make let's say a kind of half cairn of stones, provided it's only about 5 feet high, it probably costs you 1 unit of stone, maybe 2 units. If
I think go a little bit bigger than that, if we have the resources, you build something decent sized with a roof, and if we can manage it. Go ahead, sorry.
So I was gonna say a full church, you mean?
Yeah, and we can, rather than have it just be to one god, we can have a couple of alcoves with different idols in it. We can have one to the Raven Queen, and one to Bahamut, and one to Shantaea, because she's the harvest god, and then I don't know, another one that's very popular, for Iskandar, Corellin is worshipped in the woods, so he would probably go set that up himself. But yeah, so like a couple of different shrines inside this building. I think it's worth investing in like a proper sized temple because people want their gods, and it also gives us a sort of gravitas, I think, to have priests and stuff around the place.
Yeah, I like the idea of having it like serving multiple gods and having like these alcoves where folks could go and pray and put offerings and stuff. That's really good. A good idea.
And still having some like pews so that once in a while, like one of these priests can give sermons in this enclosed area, and the worshippers of that god can come for them, or anyone else that wants to come sit in.
Yeah, like for sure.
Okay. Well, what we'll do is
so ideally build it out of stone, I guess. If that's not too expensive, we build it out of stone, and then I don't know, thatch roof or slate roof or something like that.
A slate roof would be really pricey, just to gather the amount of slate,
right?
And like things like that. But to have like the kind of what do you call them, like the pear-shaped alcoves, just the buttresses and whatnot have you, to get kind of a church going. What we'll do is I'll mark that down, and then we'll discuss it in the actual on our Facebook, in the Facebook group kind of thing. And then we can get that nailed down, get you guys at church like a real town.
Yeah.
All right. So as you picture in your mind's eye, Iskandar, the look, the kind of overall feel of what this temple looks like. You can see, the walls, you can see the people coming in and out, and just the morale, like everyone just happy, much happier in this place. The mind's eye, that mind's eye of these walls now is on you, Benjamin, as you now are coming up to the main gate of Forgemont. This huge, like these huge fortified walls with these massive like towers, just like going along and just going off into the distance, kind of tucked away, butting right up against the mountains. You see in front of Forgemont, you see at the beginning how busy it is right now, because one thing that I'm not sure if everyone remembers, the city of Forgemont right now is having a tournament. Baron Albaras's son is having his first birthday, and as a kind of celebration, he wanted the whole city to celebrate. The Baron has kind of like brought on this very large tournament. So you can see a lot of knights kind of riding by. You can even tell where it's like some of where they're from by the shape of the pennants. Some of the standard bearers, like some of the pendants, for example, you see like these huge square pendants of the different knights, kind of like crests, huge square ones, and you can tell that is from the Duchy of Suka. You can see like these sharp triangular pendants, several of them. Not only are these pendants the noble crests, but then you also see like several smaller pendants, almost like just pieces of parchment, that are fluttering in the breeze, that show all the different battles and victories that some of these knights have had as they're like kind of riding in and out of the city. And you can tell that these sharp triangular ones are from the Duchy of Eastshore. You also see very interesting, almost like rounded pendants from the Kingdom of Barras, the current area that you guys are in. And of course, other like more rectangular, like more flag shaped, from the Viscounty of Trace, your neighbor. You see knights coming in and out. You see tons of merchants coming in and out, people filing, rushing, pushing past them. You can see that the guards, there's actually more guards than there would almost normally be. You can see about 4 or 5 over top of the very large, wide gatehouse, and you can also see that there are like 6 guards kind of milling about in front, watching people go through, watching people come in and out. A few guards will pull a wagon off to the side to just inspect it, make sure everything's safe, and so on and so forth, and just carry on from there. Yep.
Oh, so for these knights that are streaming in and out, Benjamin wants to just kind of do as much as he can, size them up and see if there's anyone that's holding themselves like exceptionally well in the saddle or seems particularly confident out of any of these people, because as soon as he realizes that there's this tournament going on, his gambling instincts kind of kick in, and he immediately is like, okay, who out there, like let me look at some banners and check some people and see who's like, he's just watching all of the knights coming in and out, trying to see if there's anything that like is a giveaway that someone's like definitely going to lose or definitely going to win.
You do. You see a few. Some of the like Duchy of Suka knights, these large square pendant, like large square bannered knights. As they're riding through, you could definitely tell that, like they're basically, chests out, stomachs in, kind of riding. And as they pass through, because the banners atop, like the large banners that are kind of flowing down from each tower, symbolizes the Baron's colors. And as they go by, kind of as respect, they stay kind of heart, like hand, fist to heart, over as they walk past. But you see quite a few of these duchy knights looking quite confident. You also see another knight who is like kind of going in, but this knight doesn't look like the others. He is not wearing parade plate. It's not shined up. It's war plate. It's dull, but it seems thick. And the horse, the destrier he's riding, is just huge. I mean, it's the size, and I don't know if you guys know about horses, but it almost looks like the size of a Percheron, which is a massive draft horse. But the horse is just rippling with muscle. Like it's basically like, hey, I'm going to take this Mini Cooper and I'm going to put a 426 Hemi in it. Go for it. Like just this horse just oozes raw power. Like it can go from 0 to 60 in the time it takes you to blink. This knight, however, is also, his plate seems a bit grass stained and a bit dirt smeared. Like he's not, it's not like if it was war plate, he has seen some action very recently, and as he's riding into the gates, he doesn't really take any notice of anyone. He's just focused on going in, and he has a couple of other like lightly armored horsemen with him. They're carrying the kind of slightly curved, almost kind of falchion-like small swords, kind of affixed to their back. And their armor and like the size of their horses very much the same. It indicates that they are members of the Duchy of Eastshore. Osthryd rides up right beside you, and with barely a whisper, she points, her hand shaking. He tried to kill us all. That is Sir Salem Keeling. And that is where we're going to take our break.
Oh, Mike, you're killing me, man. You're killing me.
I know. And for those of you who don't know, just to as a thing, Sir Salem Keeling was the one who was chasing the party in the Foundation one-shot to get the information, this secretive information, out to the king. So anyway, so we're going to be back in about as long as it takes me to have a smoke and kind of chill and get some more water and all that jazz. And then we'll be back. And in the meantime, I'm going to let these fine people push their stuff. Like, for example, I don't know, like one person here has a Kickstarter that you guys should all kickstart because Kickstart. Sorry, I'm not Nerdarchy, so I'm not, I don't have like, 30 million viewers or anything, but you keep pushing it because you never know. All right, we'll see you in a bit.
Thank you. Yep. I got a Kickstarter. It's for Iskandar. It's Viking setting for D&D. If you like that sort of stuff, then you should check it out at Kickstarter because it's Vikings. That's all.
I played in one of your games at one point, and I got the one of your early prototype documents, and it was one of the coolest things I'd ever seen. So I cannot fucking wait for it to be a full hardcover book.
Me either.
I have to get the hardcover book. It's gonna be the art is gonna be itself is gonna be amazing.
It's gonna be glorious.
I'm psyched.
Yeah, I'm very. I have a very biased opinion about Iskandar, so
you've been in it a lot.
I am going to push that.
But you can.
It's awesome.
Die.
It's gonna push me to play some much meaner games than I normally play.
Good.
But
if you love Vikings, if you love brutal settings where survival is key, it's not about hunting treasure, then you're going to love Iskandar because it has a really good feel. And I think Lloyd really captures it well. He's put years into the research of this. I know this is almost like an infomercial now, but he has put hundreds and hundreds of hours into this and tweaking the classes. And the way he does it is just so beautiful, scary, beautifully scary.
Thank you, Adam.
With it. Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, I'll be back in 1 sec.
Well, I'm back. I don't know if anybody else is, though.
Hello, hello. So, for everyone who's watching, of course, Carol, because Carol's just wonderful. Just hope everyone's having fun. I love this campaign. I missed this campaign. I know it's been a while. Been doing a bunch of stuff to get our floors done. That's been a really big thing, but floors are done and they look great, and I'm very happy with them. So now that we're all back, I'm hoping that we can be start making this a bit more regular. Not necessarily every every week regular, but hopefully every couple of weeks, or every 3 weeks or so. Just because I think it's great, and I'm very happy that that Lloyd, way back in the day, man, I wish someone would make a empire building campaign. And I'm happy that I jumped on board. I'm just happy that I jumped on board and said, "Yep, I'll do it." Because it was just a great. I love this setting. I made this map yonks ago. Made this world a long time ago, and I'm really happy to be jumping into it and actually fully fleshing it out, because it's only going to be better from there. Now. One thing is that, so with this, the map of Kingsgift, I'm assuming the 15 individuals, I don't know if you want me to continue the road downward towards the ocean with making more homesteads that way, or if you want to start kind of another block of homes going wherever. If you want to let me know, you guys can let me know in chat, or you can let me know on the Facebook page, and then I'll rejigify the map, and then we'll get some more areas. Right now, just a little bit of mechanics stuff. You guys are now up to a population of 65, which is just crazy. You have, as far as individuals, you have a mason who came from the merchant of the Council of the Just Scale. When he went to when he went to Forgemont ahead of you guys quite a few sessions ago, he basically talked to a few people that he knew, and you got a mason. I know you did get a carpenter, and I think you got a blacksmith. So actually, I think you got all three of those guys. So they're going to be kind of doing their thing. I'll put names in for them into the Trello, and you guys have those individuals now as well. You think you also have a farmer or two who I won't name because it's just actual farmers. So you might want to look into farmland ideas to like kind of move out some farmland, and then we can get that going because you guys will be able to start growing crops, and we're gonna have to see what crops you're going to be able to grow when I look at the map and look at kind of the growing areas for different things, because hey, that's what we do. Okay, so now that we got that little bits out of the way, and I think we can jump right back into it with Iskandar, the Edmund Mason, the kind of like most eager and kind of chief of the guards, comes up to you later after Ser Malbec has taken off and you've given your speech and kind of roused up the people. Even the former bandits were pretty happy with the fact that, Bahamut, they might get a temple or at least some sort of a religious place to kind of pray and like kind of do those sorts of religious things to kind of bolster themselves and bolster their faith. Comes up to you later and says, excuse me, Lord, but there's a few folk from Northlon and Halak. There's a couple of them want to have a chat with you. As you were talking to the townsfolk, I sent them over to the inn. If you want to go chat with them.
Yes, I will. Just keep your eyes posted.
Aye, looking for. Do you want me to come in with you, or post a guard in the inn for you?
No, that's fine. Just keep an eye to make sure everything is above board.
Understood, Lord. And he kind of gets the attention of a couple of the other guards, and like kind of gets them to kind of start patrolling a little bit, going around the inn, like kind of coming out from like where you guys had kind of like did a little wall off of the inn, and they're just kind of like patrolling around. A couple of them, Edmund puts a couple of them stationed at the front entrance, kind of where the kind of palisade kind of opens up. There's no actual gate there, but kind of has that sorted out, and kind of goes around and starts walking around. Even puts another guardsman on one of the extra horses and gets him to kind of patrol around, kind of in a wide arc to the north.
Yeah, once that's sorted, I'll make my way into the inn to meet them.
And when you get to the inn, you see a couple of familiar faces and a couple of slightly unfamiliar. Like you've seen them around. They seem to all be members of the Turan clan. A few of them are just sitting tables on their own. Malser's given them a pitcher of water. They've refused any alcohol. Just sitting there having some water, having some bread and a bit of fresh fruit, like a bit of berries and whatnot. You see me. Oh boy, this is pretty bad. Get the old notes back. I believe her name is Mia, but I could be absolutely wrong. No, excuse me, Leah. I was one letter off. You see Leah Shondell, the druid who you had very interesting words with. And you also see the champion, that champion of Clan Turan, who while he didn't say very much, definitely was proved himself in battle. The other two, the other two ones that you think you might have known them when they were kids, when you were still in the kind of in the clan. It's just a woman and a man. They're just sitting, talking very quietly to each other, not saying much, but just drinking. They both immediately lock eyes on you. Leah locks eyes on you, and so does the champion. She stands up and smiles and pulls a chair out for you to sit.
I'll give the traditional greeting, and then I'll sit.
They nod. The two that are sitting off to the side kind of look a little bit surprised that you give the traditional greeting, and nod, and one of them even kind of smirks a little, and they just look at each other, and they go back to kind of like just eating kind of like a repast, and drinking water and stuff. So, Leah sits and looks at you, and says, I know that our meeting was a little curt the last time. For that, I wish to apologize. But
Perfectly understandable.
And I understand that we did not exactly announce our presence. We just kind of showed up. But there is something that we need to discuss with you, and it's quite important.
I'm all ears.
We need you to return to Clan Turan.
I think Iskandar doesn't know what to do with that. He's kind of always hoped, after he betrayed his people, that there would be like some reconciliation, though I don't think he ever hoped for something like this. For what purpose?
And she kind of looks around. Not here. It is an awkward situation, but there have been talks amongst the other clan chiefs about King Ares, and we just need you to come back, and we need you to come back because we have a proposition for you.
So Iskandar will smile, and he thinks, oh, it must be trade with Kingsgift. I see. Well, if you don't want to speak here, there is a grove near here who could speak, away from the humans.
I would appreciate that. I think we all would. And it is not that we do not like humans. We don't dislike humans. We just clan business.
I understand.
Yes.
It's sensitive.
It is. And then she stands up. The champion, who says absolutely nothing, stands up, still looking grim. Like his face is just like, there's no smiling, there's no nothing. He just looks grim as hell. And the other two stand up. They first look to Leah. Leah nods her head. And they kind of walk with you, or at least walk, get up and make ready to leave the inn.
I'll just tell the guard there's nothing to panic about. They'll be back in a couple of hours.
All right, my lord. You need someone to go with you. And this small sort of just cleaning glass. Okay. And he just goes back, kind of cleans up after the elves, you know, kind of plates and everything else. And as you make your way out of the inn, you see Edmund. Edmund's kind of looking. Everything all right, Lord?
All fine, Edmund. Don't worry. I'll be back soon.
Hi, Lord. And make me a perception check.
Sir. Ooh, 17 on the die. So real high.
A shit ton. You notice Edmund kind of darts his eyes to one of the guards. It is the half-elf guard that you have, Asliam Tai, and the way he glances at him, you can tell the conversation that's going on in their heads, and you can just with that high of a roll, it just looks like this guy has like just nodded his head very, very slightly, just slightly enough.
Yeah, I'll kind of note that and kind of just look at him and say, I'll be back in an hour or so.
As you say, Lord. And Edmund, and it's not like, you know, it's more of like a concern. You could definitely, you can perceive like a bit of concern on his voice. So you begin to walk. I'm assuming you're going to lead them to whatever.
Yeah. So I think there's like a smaller forest just north of our. It's more of a clear, like a grove, really, as opposed to a forest.
Yeah, kind of a copse, like a very large copse of trees.
Yep.
And it's I know exactly which one you're talking about.
I'll take it there.
So as you go over there, for like just a moment, you guys head over there, and suddenly you hear your voice, "Hey, hey!" And remembering, you're like, "Oh yeah, right," and you know, waving it off like, "Hey," and it just kind of like just dies in the wind. The elves are kind of in a semicircle around you, and they begin to so Leah begins to talk with you. Many of the different clans have lost their faith in King Ares. He has taken the loss of the battle hard and personally, and unfortunately that's not what we need right now. As I've told you a couple of days ago, there's been a lot going on between the Baron and us, and we are not happy with how that is being run. I am not here to argue with it, but I think that if you understand what is actually going on in Natlan Halak, then you might be a bit more concerned about it. We want to take you to the clans because the clans have all agreed, with the exception of the king, we're going to hold a moot, and we're going to decide on a new king.
See.
We want to, well, we are going to have representatives of each clan who will go through the trial. We have Reese and myself and a few others have decided that Clan Turan's representative will be you.
I think he like looks at the champion, assuming it was going to be him, and then like looks at her, and there's like this smile of like disbelief. I'm sorry, me.
Yes. You have defeated Ares once. And although it does seem that you are loyal to these humans, which I understand, I think and so does Reese, we both think that you still have a heart in Notlan and Halak. And we want you to be a king. Or at least a king until such a time that you don't want to be anymore. But we don't have any faith in Ares, and he is leading the clans to ruin. They are not as powerful. Sorry, give me 1 second here. They're not as powerful as the clan Eris used to be. I know clan Kalthira has a very powerful, they all have very powerful candidates who could lead very well. So,
I suppose what I bring to the table is a good understanding of the world outside of Notlan and Halak. If I was thinking about it objectively, that's what I would say my strength is that I know the people of the kingdom, I know how they work. And that has historically been a weakness of our people.
yes. We've not told the other clans who our representative was because, well, you will not be liked. Actually, you'll be hated, and they will hate you because of obvious reasons.
Yes.
But I would bet an entire year's worth of fletching that you will do well. But will you do this?
It's a lot to take in. And I have oaths and things sworn here to another king.
We're talking about coming back and leading your people to prosperity. And the first time in, what, 10 years? 20? It is no lie that we do not like King Barris. We are not happy with him, what he has done. And his nephew even less so, Baron Sundon. But I think that people need someone that can bridge the gap between the kingdoms of man and elf.
You're right. The division is what's killing our people.
It is. Excuse me for just one moment, because I'm going to get you to process all that for just a second.
Oh, yeah, man. King.
That's scary. They're going to go and compete or something. He said there was a trial. Oh, God.
Oh, man. Just think, man.
Yeah.
Kingsgift could really do well if you became king of the Elven tribes.
Big time. Yep.
I mean, we would be a natural trade outlet for the elves.
Yep. Basically the only one, or like the most convenient one.
Man, you're crazy if you don't jump at the opportunity. I mean, seriously. You go from trader to given the opportunity to prove yourself to be king of them. That's awesome.
Yeah. I think it's like for Iskandar, like hard to understand because like they should hate him and they probably will hate him. So then if he becomes king,
right.
you know.
There'll definitely be probably some subsets of elves that would probably despise you, but them as a whole, it sounds like the king right now is really look what the other king's gotten them into.
Yeah.
Right?
Got them into this war, and they didn't even win the war, and there's all this other grumbling that's happening. You know, we have these men pretending to be elves to raise trouble.
They'll hate you till they benefit from you.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Of course, Iskandar doesn't know some of the information that the rest of us all know.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think that's perfect. That's exactly why. That's why I love having moments where it's like players know one thing, but not all the players know everything, and then making informed decisions that way. And it's going to be an interesting. This will be an interesting political position to jump to. But anyway, so Leah looks at you. Will you come?
Of course I will, yes. I have to see the things in Kingsgift before I leave, but yes.
Good. We were worried that we were going to have to kidnap you, knock you out, and drag you away.
I think he laughs, but it's kind of nervous.
And actually, let me see something. She doesn't even pick up on that. She just chuckles. We will come for you this evening. We need you to come right away. And I'm sorry that it's such short notice, but they want to put forth, all of the clan chieftains want to put forth their candidate and get that ready as soon as possible. Mostly so we can stop this. So I hope that you will be able to settle any affairs you have. Say in 4 hours, we will return.
All right. I'll see you then.
Thank you. And she puts her hand to your shoulder for everything. And she kisses your forehead and then walks off with the rest of the group, and you were left alone in this grove. As Osthryd grabs your hand, you could feel her grip like steel digging into your arm, Benjamin. She seems to be like just white, like shock white, and she just watches as and both of you, actually all of you, watch as the object of her fear goes through the gates and just melds in with the rest of the crowd.
It's all right, miss. He didn't notice you. Now, we're going to have to get word to the Baron a little quicker than we thought and a little more carefully. But that's all right. I have a lot of experience moving through a city without being noticed. So just, keep your head down. No one's going to look at us. We don't make eye contact. We'll just move forward and we'll get ourselves in and we'll get ourselves there. We just don't make a lot of noise on the way there, all right?
She nods her head weakly. And as you guys approach the main gate, the 6 guards, one of the guards kind of halts you, halts the party. Good afternoon. And who are you then?
Good afternoon. I'm Sir Leopold Brom of Kingsgift. And then he would incline his head towards Thancmar, so Thancmar would introduce himself, and we'd kind of go through the line.
Yeah, only Osthryd doesn't really say much. She just very quietly says her name, and then that's it. She's still rattled by the appearance of Sir Salem Keeling. The guard says, "Sir, are you here to compete in the tourney?"
I had not thought as much. I didn't realize the tourney was as big as it was. And he would kind of motion with a kind of just a quick sweep of his arm at all the other knights. Though we did hear that the Baron is going to join the lists. Is that true?
Oh, you're here to gamble, are you? Well, I'll tell you what. If you don't mind making a very, 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 very small profit, then yeah, I'd probably say you'd want to you'd want to bet on his lordship to compete in the melee. There's no finer swordsman in the whole bloody barony.
Out of curiosity, what does one need to do, and if they would seek an audience with the Baron?
Well, you think you know him personally? I mean, we can't, we can't just let anybody just go walking up into his tent and say, howdy. I mean, after all, we wouldn't be very good guards if we just let that happen.
This will be a diplomatic appeal from the council of the town of Kingsgift, personally bequeathed by the king himself.
Kingsgift. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about now. Yeah, that was I was at the Battle of Hannah Bridge, eh? Yeah, you were them mercenaries.
Not any longer, my friend.
Yeah, now you're lords. But that hasn't gone to your head, has it?
Yep. Leopold would visibly rankle at the term mercenary. That's a life he had left behind when he took up the mantle of the Raven Queen. So the guard would probably see that. He wouldn't be good at hiding that. It kind of bites.
He smiles to himself because he just figures, what, I'm a guardsman and I'm the one that lets you come in. Well, I suppose that none of you are up to no good. Besides, even if it did, the guard's been tripled over here, so it's fine. Just go right on in. Just you might want to hit your asses quick. If not, I mean, you're gonna end up running over some folk. And as you look, kind of as your eyes wander past him, it's almost as if, for those of you who have been to Disneyland, when you walk into Disneyland's Main Street at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday in the sun, where it's just like wall-to-wall people, there's just tons of people walking through. You see kiosks everywhere, tons of different groups and everything else. People wandering around, children running through around nights and everything else. Playing catch and tag and things like that. And the people with like kids also with their toy swords and stuff. And basically it's just like it's a huge event. There's like banners and streamers strung up between the houses and other buildings. Tons of inns. So as you first walk into Forgemont, that's almost what you see is basically a whole bunch of inns, and a few outbuildings to store horses, a couple of stables. You see a few, even a few armorers and smiths, kind of like lining up along the sides as well. A few wainwrights, those who can repair wagons. As you're talking to the guard, you actually see Grick, the dwarf, walking past you, waving, and he's like, "Cheers again!" And he kind of snaps his reins a little bit and giving, kind of a to his ponies, and he begins to kind of turn left to kind of get them over to one of these wainwright stalls. And then you hear him shouting and yelling and being generally dwarfy to this one poor sodden wainwright who's just trying to like fix his wagon and he's snapping the reins, get him to hurry up. The guard like kind of relents eventually and just steps out and kind of points through the main gate. And will you guys be heading through?
I think when we're clear of the guards, Leopold would turn towards Thancmar and Benjamin, and he would just say, probably to Thancmar, because he's the big, imposing warrior. He would say, "Thancmar, keep the girl safe." And then he'd look at you, Benjamin, and say, "We should take care of our horses and secure lodging. I mean to get an audience with the Baron, but I don't know how yet."
Agreed. We should make our first priority keeping the girl out of sight. I don't want her running into this fella that might give some indication to these people that someone's here to tell the Baron something that might make it a little more difficult.
Thancmar speaks up for the first and the last time, and Nico, if you watch this, I'm sorry. I think that perhaps at some point we would need to speak to someone about this perfumed man. That's it. That's I'm not doing any, that was it. I'm sorry, Nico. Sorry.
Yeah, that
that was terrible.
That was good. This was good. I think that, yeah, Thancmar is forever the practical one. And reminds Leopold of the perfumed man. He would probably give him a look and a nod. Then he would turn and maybe exchange another look with Benjamin. But he wouldn't say anything.
Benjamin kind of gets a little bit of a smile on his face and says, I may be able to find something out. You worry about the Baron. I'll see what I can find about this perfume man. And Thancmar, if you could take care of the girl and the horses.
Thancmar nods his head, and both him and Osthryd grab the horses. Like everyone dismounts. Are you guys going to take your weapons with you? I assume yes, no.
Yeah.
Probably just the
rapier.
Yeah. Probably just the sword. I wouldn't be like decked out.
Full on crossbow.
Yeah.
Just armed
one of
to
those
the teeth,
comical RPG pictures that has like everything all over. Nah, he probably just has his sword. He probably wouldn't even have a shield. He would probably leave that on his horse because moving through the crowd would be hard enough as it is.
Yeah, and as they bring it over, they hitch the horses up, tie them up. And there's an individual who's at the stable, or at least kind of near the post, who for 1 silver will watch your goods, watch your horses for the day. And
yeah.
So
I imagine Thancmar would probably do something. We'd probably give him a gold and say, see that you tend to these horses soundly, feed and water them, brush them out, I imagine Thancmar would give him like these very strict orders on how he wants the boy to care for these horses.
Seeing the gold piece, he immediately unties the horses and brings them actually into a stable, takes off their kit, takes off their saddles, lets them kind of walk around, feeds them, takes your weapons and like anything you had attached to it, and kind of puts it into what looks to be almost like a locker, but just like basically it's just, think of a jail cell but partitioned off into small cubbies basically, and each one has a lock. He takes the key out and hands you the key. So you now have the key, Leopold, to the stuff with all of your provisions in it.
Cool. Yeah, he would tuck that away. Thank the lad. And I imagine since Benjamin, you're going to try to see if you can get any kind of skinny on the perfumed man. So that I would leave the 3 of us to try to get audience, because we need Osthryd. Leopold needs her with him because she's the one that had the letter, and she is also the one that experienced the journey from, was it East Shore to to Kingsgift. So he would want her account to be able to tell that to the Baron. So I guess the 3 of us would go.
So as you, so what we're going to do really quick is I'm just going to split it off. So first and foremost, I was going to get you to make a roll. Trying to think, maybe just an investigation check for you, Benjamin. And while you're rolling that, if you want to just type out the result in chat with your, with the Bonus. There we go. Words. I don't know why. We're just gonna go right to you, Leopold. As you start walking into the tourney grounds, you see all of basically the tourney grounds are essentially right in front of the castle. There's a couple of huge like areas. There's one like large jousting area. There's 3 melee bouts, so they can get through the melee fairly quickly. And you can just hear, you suddenly, like, as you kind of get there, it's almost like announcing your arrival. You hear the crash and splintering of wood, and just the shouts and screams of the crowd, as many of them watch these 2, these 2 human tanks just colliding into each other on horseback. One of them, kind of, you can almost see the lance kind of crumpling into the shield, but just pushing this knight straight off the horse, hitting the ground, and you see the split, like just this broken lance, and he's just basically like the victorious knight, just pumping his fist in the air to the cheers of the crowds. You smell roasting meats, nuts, like cooked chestnuts, all sorts of different types of food smells, mixed in with like horse, that standard smell of horse, and a little bit of BO, as like people don't exactly have showers in their home. They don't wash all the time. It's it's a warm day. It's nice. So I mean, it's just like all sorts of things are happening. People are like running around and cheering and walking to certain things. You hear 2 people bashing the hell out of each other in one of the melee with a couple of like basically like tournament swords. So basically ones that have been blunted, the edges taken off, and then over just beyond the castle gates, you see a couple of guards standing, and you see a bunch of makeshift but very nice tents, kind of all like in a huge semicircle, kind of into the actual castle grounds. And you see these 2 guards standing right at the main gate into the keep.
Yeah, so I think Leopold would only pause for a moment to watch the outcome of the joust. He wouldn't say anything or even make any kind of inclination, though he would see the knight unhorsed, and after that, then the cacophony and all this mixture of sounds just turns into this kind of this hum for him. His eyes immediately go to the pavilions, and he kind of runs his eyes across it. He's looking for, now this is the Baron that was in the final battle with us. Yes,
that's right.
Yeah, so he's looking for his sigilry, any kind of his marking, his colors that would be flying from any pennants around a pavilion, and that's what his focus would be.
So you do see, like, as you see many of the different groups, each one, especially you can definitely tell the lords, who, like, where the lords actually are, these like the noble people, because they'll generally have guards protecting, like in the front of the tent to keep people from bothering them. You can tell, even though the Baron's keep is right there, he has a tent. He still has a tent set up, just like everyone else. And you see a couple of guards that are in the same uniforms and everything else as the town guards in the front. So you can make out with, without any too much trouble, that's got to be Baron Sunden's tent. You can also make, you could also see other individuals that you have seen as well. Like the Duchy of Suka's champion is standing there. A couple of like rigid halberdiers, are kind of like just standing, waiting. It is not the Duchess, but it is the Duchess's champion, who is representing the whole duchy, as other knights have, obviously been taken out or something. And you see the other groups. You also see East Shore. You actually see a couple of medium, in medium armor. Generally, a lot of the guards are just wearing a simple chain shirt, but these guys seem to be in heavier scale. They have their weapons, and they're looking kind of like they're waiting for someone to come up so they can either kick their ass or just basically kill them if they have to. They're really not, they're not having a great time, so they look kind of pissed off.
Yeah, so Leopold would waste no time. He would indicate with an inclination of his head to Thancmar the direction towards the Baron's men, and that's what he would make his way to, with Osthryd in tow. As he approached the men, he would start with the very formal introduction. He would say, "I am Sir Leopold Brom, humble servant of the Raven Queen." And this time he would actually introduce the others, and he would call Osthryd just simply Osthryd in our service, and Thancmar, he would just call him Sir Thancmar. But then he would say, we seek a word with your lord if he is about. The matter is quite urgent.
Make me a diplomacy check. No, I'm just kidding. But make me a persuasion check. That's something from something else, folks.
I'm actually good at diplomacy. What would you want me to do, though, Mike?
Make me a persuasion check.
Persuasion, cool. All right, persuasion. Yeah, that's a dirty 20 on that.
Nice. The ones is kind of holds up a hand and then goes in. Comes back out. Just wait here. 30 seconds. And we'll let you in. He's just talking to someone more important than you. And you can hear voices are kind of muffled. They seemed like a little bit raised. And they're just talking in the tent. The two guards are out, but obviously the Baron is talking to someone else right now.
I think Leopold would take that moment to step away from the guards, over towards closer to Thancmar and Osthryd. He would gently place, kind of take her shoulders, the upper arm just below the shoulder in his hands, and he would look at her and he would say, comforting her, he would, "Don't worry, girl. We will see the Baron and you'll be able to share your story to him. He's a just man. We fought together in the final battle. It's not a lie what they said earlier. Very skilled in the sword."
Thancmar says just under his breath, "Well, some of us fought."
Yeah.
So the tent flap suddenly goes open, and a woman kind of dressed in what appears to almost be hunting apparel, kind of kind of mid slacks, kind of a light, kind of a light shirt, but something very easy to move around in, and basically what looks to be not exactly a leather corset, but it almost seems to be like armor to protect your stomach, but it's like leather. But it's, you know what I mean? It's not a corset, but it's definitely something to go over in hunting, if you're hunting boar, to keep the boar from trying to get you in the side, kind of a thing. She walks out, and she carries herself with a definite air of confidence and purpose. This individual, you can tell, is a noble, but she does not look extremely happy walking out. and she kind of brushes past the both of you and kind of storms off. And you see her kind of start walking into one of the tents. This one that has a large square pennant on it. And we'll see if you guys were paying attention, because I'm not going to say where that's from. So the guards point at you, Leopold, and hold open the flap to get you to come in, or to like kind of see you in.
Yeah, Leopold would acknowledge and move forward with the others.
As you go in, you see the Baron. He's getting his armor put on by a squire, who's kind of fitting everything and getting everything kind of like locked into place and ready. Ah, the Lords of Kingsgift. It's nice to see you again. What brings you all the way up to Forgemont? Are you here to compete?
Nay, Lord. But that was our only purpose for being here. But unfortunately, we carry ill tidings. Sour news indeed. And he would, he kind of like, he just comes in all like dour and right to the point. And with that, he would turn and look to Osthryd and kind of do a little wave of his hand to have her step up alongside him.
And she comes forward and kind of like bows her head a little. You're dressed as a guardsman of the King's Royal Messenger Service. What is going on? And she tells the entire story about what happened. Basically, RE, the one shot. And he doesn't say anything. He doesn't interrupt. He doesn't, do any like that. He just stands there and listens while the squire's putting on his armor and everything else. Squire finishes up, and he kind of like, So, what exactly was Ishur up to? Because that's the one thing, is that they don't actually really know. They know about the news, but they don't know. So Osthryd, her head still down. She shrugs her shoulders kind of weakly, and says nothing. The Baron looks at the two, well, you and Thancmar, and says, well, it seems that we have ourselves a bit of a problem then. If Ishur is going to attack the King's Royal Messenger Service, then whatever is in behind this letter is important. I would take that letter from you, Osthryd. And Osthryd shakes her head no and says, It is only meant for the king. I cannot. And the Baron looks to the two of you.
Yeah, Leopold would frown upon hearing that. He would turn his head to her and say, "This is the king's man. He's noble and trustworthy. You can give him the letter. He will get it to the king."
Really? Is there anyone playing?
She make me a persuasion check on that one.
By yourself?
Okay,
Did you do this by yourself, Elijah?
even better, 21.
Ooh.
What?
Although she seems hesitant, she pulls out the letter and hands it to the Baron. Baron says, "Thank you." Well, this is some news. I hope that you will be able to stand at the melee support me in my corner. I will be hoping to bring honor and glory to my son. But please, while you're here, stay as my guests. If you need to stay the night, do what you must. My keep is open to you. Here, hang on a second, and he'll jot down a note, give it to the squire. Please give this to the guards and the steward. Please give it to my steward. He will be able to assist you. And you hear, my lord, and behind you, you guys couldn't even hear him come in. You see this very well-dressed, immaculate individual, and the Baron says, yes, my steward. And you, as you turn around, you suddenly get a hit of Jasmine and Lilac. And that's where we're going to end our session for today.
Yes, yes.
That was great.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I wasn't there.
Oh, Benjamin. You come running in after because
guys, I found him.
When I heard that, my lord, at the end there, I was like, oh, this guy's the worst.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So there you go. All right. Well, I am going to. We're just going to do a very, very super quick outro because, again, I've got a whole bunch of stuff to do around the house. But I just want to thank my awesome players for coming in. It is good to be back in the Foundation. It's great to be back in Althera. I love this. Everyone here is awesome. So a big thanks to you guys. I know we're all getting into a busy season, especially you, Lloyd, with your Kickstarter. But thanks for tuning in. If you're watching this after, thanks for clicking on it and giving her. And hey, subscribe to all these guys' channels. Hopefully they did mention what their channels were. If not, I'll just put it in the description after. So hope you guys have a good one. And as always, get inspired.